Hey everyone, I ask you to bear with me. So I was driving to my work today and back and forth in the last few days, and something dawned on me about the shaking. And a while ago I felt like that the Father woke me up in the middle of the night, and one of the things he said was that we were in a shaking, or I got the feeling that we're in a shaking. And I just kind of, yeah, I could see that. And my mind was focused on the church, shaking in the church, right? Because as you've seen some of my other videos where I've done a lot of stuff about like false prophets and false doctrines in our church, and how many believers or Christians are kind of following those and being deceived. And so driving, I started to realize, you know what, like I'm listening to the news and stuff, and we're in a shaking all over the place in this world. So I decided to do a quick on the fly Bible study with you. And I went to Bible Gateway and I was looking up the word shaking in the King James Version. And so I found in Isaiah 17:6, it says, "Yet gleaning grapes shall be left in it, as the shaking of an olive tree, 2 or 3 berries in the top of the uttermost brow, 4 or 5 in the outmost fruitful branches thereof, saith the Lord God of Israel." So let's look at that in context. So I'm going to go to the full chapter, Isaiah 17:6. And this is the burden of Damascus. "Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap." Now, you guys, I'm telling you, I had no idea that I'm doing this on the fly because I'm very time strained. If you guys, oh, this is crazy. So, and it shall be a ruinous heap. Now, Damascus has not yet been a ruinous heap, as one of the signs of the times of the end, and to look up, for your time draweth nigh. It has not. Syria has been in war for quite, 5 years maybe? And there's been a lot of conflict over there, as we all know, a lot of high persecution of the Christians all over the Middle East. Like 80% of the Christians in Syria were killed. That's by the latest numbers I heard from the Voice of the Martyrs. And it's just been abhorrent. And of course, nobody says anything. Nobody's jumping up. Just like, in the Holocaust time, nobody, oh, what happened to all these Jews that are missing? Nobody says a word. Anyway, aside from that, this verse right here is jumping out at me, because right now, even though President Trump, and I probably should look it up and take more time here and look it up, but President Trump drawn his people from Syria. Okay, so now let's see if I could turn this on. This is from Fact News Network, which is the new. I'm going to turn this up so you can hear.
Shalom Chavrim, I'm Stephen Bernun. You're watching Israeli News Live. In a world of Ein Shalom, there just is no peace, and we're certainly not seeing that over in Syria today. As we are watching the things earlier this morning, the fighting that is already going on. Turkey has started their air bombardment campaign there. You can see in this video footage right here, dropping bombs all over northern Syria, as if Bashar al-Assad, the president of Syria, really needed the war to reignite in his country. But there's just no let-up. There's just none. And the President of the United States, although we had a very small, I'm talking about a very small force in northern Syria, decided to pull out at this time, at a critical time when the Kurdish people, who have always been some of the best fighters against ISIS in the Middle East, has chosen to pull out. Russia has turned their back on the Kurds in the past. Russia is also warned that the United States would once again do this. They would turn their back on the Kurds, and yes, they're doing it once again.
Now that's in northern Syria, and Damascus is more towards the south central part of Syria. So Damascus has not been affected yet. But that's part of the Bible prophecy that's something that we need to pay attention to. So let's get back to the shaking. Okay, now can you imagine? Now just think about this. Now I'm just going off on a limb here, but bombs cause a shaking, don't they? Like in the ground and stuff. But I don't know if that means if that's anything at all. But the cities of Or are forsaken. They shall be for flocks which shall lie down, none shall make them afraid. The fortress shall also cease from Ephraim, and the kingdom from Damascus, and the remnant of Syria, the believers, they shall be as the glory of the children of Israel, saith the Lord of hosts. Now, they have been brutally killed, a lot of them, and they're up in heaven right now, okay? And in that day, which is kind of like a term that's saying in that day, like the great and terrible day of the Lord, or in that day, meaning a time period of the Lord, it shall come to pass that the glory of Jacob shall be made thin, and the fatness of his flesh shall be waxed lean, which means like a famine, and it could also be spiritual as well. And it shall be as when the harvestman gathered the corn, and reapeth the ears with his arms, and it shall be as he that gathereth the ears in the valley of Rephaim. I'm not sure where Rephaim is exactly. So on a side note here, I looked up the map, as you could see, where Rephaim is. And just to let you know, I used to be an archaeologist for many years in Israel. And so there's some people out there that say the Rephaim might be the land of the Nephilim. Interesting enough. And so if anyone wants to fund me, and I'll disavow my title as archaeologist, I'll go out there and see if I could find them in the valley of Gilgal. All right, that's just a side note. Who knows, really? Okay, onward. Yet gleaning grapes shall be left in it, as the shaking of an olive tree. 2 or 3 berries in the top of the uttermost brow, for 4 or 5 in the outmost fruitful branches thereof, saith the Lord God of Israel. In that day shall a man look to his Maker, and his eyes shall have respect to the Holy One of Israel. So, shaking, that's a shaking in the scriptures, and I looked it up in the Strong Concordance. It's Nokif. And it just translates a shaking off of olives. Okay. Which, that's what it says. Shaking of an olive, 2 or 3 more berries. So what's interesting is if anyone has ever watched an olive harvest, I used to live in Italy, and I used to had a bunch of olives, and they used to come, and that's what they didn't quite, they shook it a little bit because it could bruise the olives, but you shake it, and they put a net down below the olive tree, and all the olives fall, and there are a few that are left, and then they climb up on ladders and kind of rake them down. But that's the shaking of an olive tree, and it still is done today. So let's go back and look at some other ones. Here's another one that says, in that day shall Egypt be like unto women, and it shall be afraid and fear because of the shaking of the hand of the Lord of hosts, which he shaketh over it. So then let's go back and see shaking here. So that one's not referenced here in the Strong Concordance, which is really interesting. That particular shaking. So let's go here. I was reading just now in where? Isaiah 19:16. Here. So let's see if it's a different shaking. Okay. Ah. Tenufa. From the root word tenuf. So this is the biblical uses swinging, waving, wave offering. Offering is swinging, brandishing of God's hands, weapons, waving, wave offering, offering of gold or brass. A brandishing in threat, by implication, attunement, specifically the official undulation or sacrificial offerings, offering, shaking, wave, offering. Isaiah 24:13. When thus it shall be in the midst of the land among the people, there shall be as the shaking of an olive tree again, and as the gleaning grapes when the vintage is done. So Isaiah 24:13. So Isaiah 24 is, Behold, the Lord maketh the earth empty, and maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattereth abroad the inhabitants thereof. So this is more something that hasn't happened yet. More to me sounding last days type stuff. And it shall be as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with his master, as with the maid, so with their mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the lender, so with the borrower, as with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury too. I'm sorry, I was kind of going off in my head. The land shall be utterly emptied and utterly spoiled, for the Lord hath spoken this word. And you know, this word never goes back void. The earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. The earth is also defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Guys, does that sound familiar? Can I repeat that again? The Lord is also defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws. Now you want to know, right? Do you want to know how they transgress the laws? It is so complicated and complex. How many laws have been transgressed? If you look all over the world right now, there are corrupt jail sentences and trials and court hearings with a lot of the politicians and the leaders worldwide. We just had Netanyahu. We had, right now what's going on with President Trump and Barr and Biden and all these other people. You've got the French and all this protests going on, and you have what's going on in Hong Kong. You look at the Middle East, what's going on in the Middle East. Even there are corrupt trials in Saudi Arabia, all kinds of stuff. Change the ordinance, which is what they're doing. Think about what happened with the whistleblower, how they spoke with the whistleblower, then they changed the document to include hearsay, and then they exposed the whistleblower. They had him fill out a new form from this law firm that actually has been a law firm for the Clintons during the Monica Lewinsky trial. So how did this whistleblower, quote unquote, I call him a rumor blower, get the money to go to this law firm anyway? And they have broken the everlasting covenant, which is, things like killing your babies and homosexuality and transgender, and the rainbow. Therefore hath the curse devoured the earth. Don't you think? Do we feel it or what? And they that dwell therein are desolate. What? Are we all desolate? Well, we have the Lord, right? We're the remnant. But many people are. Suicide rates have gone up. Illnesses have gone up. Heart attacks happened at a younger age. You're just hearing all kinds of human trafficking, sex trafficking, children, somebody got arrested in one of the islands for having a fake adoption set up, and all these people from Utah were going and adopting children that were actually being kidnapped. Just think about that. And they that dwell therein are desolate, therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and a few men left. Wow. You know, his words don't come back void, do they? This has not happened yet. The new wine mourneth. Hear the new wine. The vine languisheth. Do you languish? All the merry-hearted do sigh. Wow. I feel this way. Exactly. The new wine mourneth, the vine languisheth, and all the merry-hearted do sigh. The myrrh of the terebinth ceaseth, the noise of them that rejoiceth endeth, and the joy of the harp ceaseth. This is King James. And they shall not drink wine with song. Strong drink shall be a bitter to them that drink it. The city of confusion is broken down, every house is shut up, so that no man may come in. Wow. There is a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened, and the myrrh of the land is gone. In the city is left desolation, and the gate is smitten with destruction. When thus it shall be in the midst of the land among the people, there shall be as the shaking of an olive tree. Imagine that violent shaking of the olive tree. And it's gleaning of the grapes when the vintage is done. Now, you know, this image just came to my mind because when we used to shake the olive tree, like I told you, there were a few olives that remained. Interesting, huh? They shall lift up their voice. They shall sing for the majesty of the Lord. They shall cry aloud from the sea. Wherefore glorify the Lord in the fires, even the name of the Lord God of Israel in the isles of the sea. From the uttermost part of the earth we have heard songs, even glory to the righteous. But I said, my leanness, woe unto me. The treacherous dealers have dealt treacherously. Yea, the treacherous dealers have dealt very treacherously. It's true, isn't it? Fear and the pit and the snare are upon thee, O inhabitant of the earth. And it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit. And he that cometh up out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in the snare, for the windows from on high are opened, and the foundations of the earth do shake. So it's also that earthquake thing I was mentioning. The windows from high are open. The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean, dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and it shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the hosts of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. And they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days they shall be visited. Then the moon shall be confounded. Interesting. And the sun ashamed. And the Lord of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem and before his ancients gloriously. So, here. So I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I prophesied there was a noise, behold a shaking. And the bones came together, bone to his bone. Ooh, that great and glorious day. Ezekiel 37. And the hand of the Lord was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of the Lord. So in the spirit of the Lord. And he sat down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones. And he caused me to pass by them round about. And behold, there were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. And he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Lord God, thou knowest. Smart answer, right? Again he said unto me, prophesy unto these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord God unto these bones, behold, I will cause breath to enter unto you, and you shall live. And I will lay sinews upon you, and will bring up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you. You shall live, and you shall know that I am the Lord. Can you imagine that? He's going to put the flesh. He's going to put the muscles. He's going to put the bones together. So I prophesied as I was commanded. And as I prophesied, there was a noise, and behold, a shaking. Remember the shaking like the olives. And the bones came together, bone to his bone. And when I beheld, lo, the sinews and the flesh came upon them, and the skin covered them above, and there was no breath in them. And he said unto me, prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind, thus saith the Lord God, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon the slain, that they may live. So I prophesied as he has commanded me, and the breath came in unto them, and they lived and stood up upon their feet, an exceedingly great army. And he said to me, son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Wow. Behold, they say, our bones are dry, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts. And, that's also spiritual, right? So some people say this is like, when during the resurrection, the dead will rise first. And that could be, something of this, but also spiritually, right? Eventually, when the days of the Gentiles are full, and the house of Israel will start to know that Jesus Christ was the Messiah. And he is Lord of Lords and King of Kings. Because right now, still, their bones are dried, and their hope is lost, and they are cut off for their parts. Therefore prophesy, and say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, O my people, I will open your graves, and cause you to come up out of your graves, and bring you into the land of Israel. And you know what? Like also, we have been grafted into the vine, so we are also Israel as well, believers. And you shall know that I am the Lord, and when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves, and shall put my spirit in you, that breath, right? Beautiful. And you shall live, and I shall place you in your own land. Then shall ye know that I, the Lord, have spoken it and performed it, saith the Lord. The word of the Lord came unto me, saying, moreover, thou, I love how he calls Ezekiel son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it, for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions, and take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions, and join them one another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by thee? And say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribe of Israel, his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, make them one stick, and they shall be in my hand. Wow. So, because right now they're still kind of split up, you have a... Back then they did have Judah and Israel, and they were, the 13 tribes, and they were all kind of split up. And anyway, it says, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whether they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land, which that he has done, right? But also, we all haven't gone there. If we're grafted into the vine, one day we will be during the millennium. And I will make them one nation, and in the land upon the mountains of Israel. And our one king shall be the king to them all. Well, who's that? This is, remember, I say Ezekiel. So they didn't know. The king is the Messiah. And they shall no more be two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms any more at all. Neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions. But I will save them out of their dwelling places, wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. Wow. So, right there, that's for us too. He cleanses us. So shall they be my people, right? And I will be their God. And David, my servant, shall be king over them, and they all shall have one shepherd. Now that's the millennium. David, my servant, will come back and be king in Jerusalem. He will sit on the throne, guys. And they shall have one shepherd, which is Jesus Christ. And they shall also walk in my judgments and observe my statutes and do them. It's like going and doing the Feast of the Tabernacles once a year. And they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob my servant, wherein your fathers have dwelt. And they shall dwell therein, even they, and their children, and their children's children, forever. And my servant David shall be their prince forever, which out of David came who? Jesus Christ. And for eternity it's Christ, Jesus. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them, and it shall be an everlasting covenant with them. And I will place them and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. My tabernacle shall also be with them, yea, I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And the heathen shall know that I am the Lord, that I, the Lord, do sanctify Israel, and my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore. Because during the millennium, there will be a lot of people that are still unbelievers. So this is really awesome about the shaking. And what got to me was all the stuff in the news, as you saw at the beginning of the video. We have an economic shaking. I heard on the news the other day the United Nations is going bankrupt. The United Nations, guys? I used to work for the United Nations. They had money. We had projects, money donated by countries all over the place. But you know why they're going bankrupt? Is the United States used to give a lot of money. We've withdrawn a lot of that money right now. So countries are going bankrupt. We're having economic shaking. We're having a spiritual shaking. We're having a political shaking. We're having a shaking in the church. Guys, hold on to your horses, right?